All right. Welcome to the show, you guys. We are here with another PowWow podcast for Warrior Training System. I am head coach Josh Morundi, and today I have a super duper special guest, close friend, comrade, training partner, Dr. Anthony Kopp. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks. Should be a fun one.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've actually sat down and talked about anything, training, relationship, whatever.
Yeah.
So,
they're rarely short talks.
yeah.
We don't get them. We don't get them a lot, but when we get them, we go hard. So let's start out talking a little bit about how we know each other, I guess, really.
So there was 2013-ish? I think the first time I met you.
13 or 14, yeah.
Yeah. I remember the day. I was sitting on a rower in the middle of a workout and you're just knocking on the door. I'm like, who is this guy? And then a couple hours later, talked to Jack when he still owned the gym and saw that he was coaching you, and we became pretty good friends.
Yeah.
Trained together a lot and kind of just went from there.
We shared, we've done training sessions together. Both of us have a pretty good background. Yours, we'll get into this, but both of us have relationship ties to OPEX or OPT training methodologies. And we both have coached at my current gym, but at CrossFit 269. How long? You've been doing CrossFit for a long time. Like, when did you get started?
I was introduced in high school, like 2007.
That is nuts, man.
Yeah, you would think I'd be better. So I had a strength coach that was like, I found this website, high intensity training, really cool. So I followed .com for a few years, came to Western, got into the traditional bodybuilding, and then found a couple CrossFit gyms up here, started coaching, and kind of kept with it ever since.
Yeah, I mean, you have good relationships at our gym and at AZO as well. I know Zach is the weightlifting coach there, does a great job, and you guys have a long-standing relationship there.
Yeah.
And so rewind back, your strength conditioning coach, was this for hockey?
No, this was just a gym class.
Okay.
Like an introduction to strength training. He put us on like a 3x5 squat, bench, power clean or something like that. And a few of us, we were in it for a couple of years, and he's like, you guys have a good handle on stuff. Why don't you try this?
And at that time, .com, like CrossFit.com was what we're referring to for the listeners. That's really the only source there was.
Oh yeah. You go on there, you post to the forum, your times.
Yeah. It looked like basically Notepad from your computer. like the website was so amateur and whack back then.
It was just a list of workouts.
Yeah.
On one off for years.
That's nuts.
Now the website's so hard to navigate.
Yeah. They've definitely done an incredible job of expanding offerings. We'll say that. And I'll say that I think the programming has improved as well. That's a whole other rabbit hole, but
right.
I think that whoever is in charge of programming for the website does a pretty decent job. So take us through a little bit. You start in 2007. You, like most people probably, you've kind of come in and out of it and experienced other things. Tell us a little bit about your most the last 5 years of CrossFit for you.
So that kind of ties into where I ended up now. So 7 years ago, I had a really bad back injury, put me out of training for probably 5 or 6 months. Couldn't roll over in bed, just couldn't do anything. So went to massage therapy, chiropractic, really found nothing that gave me permanent relief. So then I kind of went down this rabbit hole of chiropractic and trying to figure out why this happened. But over the years, I've trained to compete in CrossFit for, past 5 years. Past year and a half, priorities have definitely changed. Finishing up school, starting a family, have a baby on the way. So priorities are definitely changing, where fitness is still high priority, but not top priority.
And by fitness, you mean basically like measurable performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would even say just getting in those longer hour and a half, 2 hour workouts where I'm trying to be better at strength training, endurance, whatever it is. Now it's pretty much just maintain what I have built over the past 10 years. So I think that's been the biggest change going from CrossFit to real life adult world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
So
think
go ahead.
I've hit pretty much all the big fitness aspects: Olympic lifting, powerlifting, CrossFit. Growing up, I played hockey, and off-ice conditioning was a huge part for me. A lot of running, biking. I've kind of done a little bit of everything over the past 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, and in your CrossFit world, I mean, not only were you coached by an OPEX coach, but you trained with me, you trained with, in Chicago, you were Alpha Dog, where there is a regional team and multiple regional appearance, individual athletes. So
Yeah.
you've pretty much always trained with some pretty elite athletes everywhere you've gone.
Yeah, I think that was my biggest thing, was trying to find someone that, I know you say it all the time, a rabbit to chase, that can keep pushing you that 1% when you need it, and someone to bounce ideas off of, give you a baseline of where you think you should be, what you can be, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, seeing potential is pretty wild. Mm-hmm. Things that you think there's just no way that, not only can I not do it, no one can do this. And then like somebody next to you in your training session, I'm like, damn it, now I have to do that.
Right.
So you mentioned that you injured your back, and that basically led to the rabbit hole that got you to where you are. Tell everyone a little bit about where that is, where you are now, what you do, and a little bit about your career path.
Okay. So after the back injury, I was in engineering school at Western. About a year before I graduated, I was like, yeah, I really don't want to sit behind a desk. I don't want to work for someone. So I actually went and shadowed Steve and Kate Antonetti and talked to them about what they do, why they're doing it, and realized that it could be a possible career choice.
This is chiropractic for those of you guys that don't know.
Yes.
Steve and Kate.
So they're chiropractors in Kalamazoo, and they kind of gave me an idea of what the life is of a chiropractor, what the possibilities are. And then I had a long talk with my coach. It was probably 2.5 hours of what I can do, because I knew I didn't want to do engineering. I looked into going into research, like biomechanics research, because I was very involved with human movement. And he suggested that I go down chiropractic or PT, just because there's so many rabbit holes to go down.
Is this your OPEX coach?
Yes, Matt Springer. If you don't know him, I don't think he's coaching anymore. But so that kind of got me to chiropractic school. I moved back to Chicago. I'm originally from the suburbs, so I moved back a couple miles from my parents and went to school. Still coaching, training as much as I could. Probably put that as more of a priority than school itself, which may not have been the best idea, but it gave me real world practical experience that other students I was with didn't have. I was able to watch people move. I was able to try and help people while I was in school. And CrossFitters are notorious for getting injured, taking some time off, and then testing, whether it's a 1-rep max or Fran or something like that. So being able to talk to people about maybe not the best time to test, and building actually programs to work people from injury back to CrossFit into performance settings was a big thing I learned coaching at Alpha Dog. I had 3 more back injuries while training, and that was kind of an eye-opening thing, because I thought I was moving well. My training program was pretty spot on. I've been working with my coach for like 3.5 years at that point. Volume and intensity were pretty dialed in. So I went down another rabbit hole of pain science and why I kept having these back injuries over and over. And what came up was it was the exact same time every year, 1 to 2 weeks before the Open or the first week of the Open. And that's when this kind of psychology and like the psychosocial part of pain was brought to my attention. So there's a really cool balance between movement mechanics and then your environment that you're in, bringing on pain, also taking away pain and bringing your performance up. I mean, you talk about all the time how mental fortitude can increase performance, or it can take performance the other way.
Drastically, yeah.
So that's pretty much where, and then, we moved back here, my wife and I, November, and then started opening the business. I opened officially, soft official yesterday, just taking new patients, and waiting for the baby to come. And then after that, I'll do a grand opening, hopefully get a bunch of people here to hang out, drink some coffee, have some food.
Yes. I love all those things.
Kind of where I'm at now.
So can you tell us, I mean, this could be such a long conversation. I just think it's such a cool, interesting thing to talk to a professional about how important, a lot of people preach and talk about mindset and like fixed versus growth mindset. And I think that that's all valuable information. But when we talk about the actual human body and physiology and how that relates to, neurological patterns and what does stress do to the body, I feel like that has a little more to do with what you're diving into. It's not like motivational self-improvement. This is like actual data.
Right. Yeah. So there is definitely evidence that, everything we do is stress to the body. It's how you respond to that stress is whether you're going to grow or you're going to atrophy. Muscles, mental fortitude, even just mental acuity. If you're a big thing that a lot of my mentors preach is if you're not learning, you're dying. And once you stop learning, you die. Yeah. So that's been a big motivator for me, is just learning as much as I can, but then also being able to apply it. But as far as stress goes, everything you put into your body, every activity you do, every activity you don't do is stress. And you only have so much stress that you can put into the system before it breaks down. So being able to balance that stress and figure out ways to decrease stress, whether it's getting yourself into a routine, good nutrition, good hydration, quality movement versus just intensity.
Right.
I think those are some easy ways, easier said than done, ways to balance that good stress and bad stress.
So just to recap on a couple of these things, like one of the things you talk about is, I'm going to manipulate your words a little bit, but tell me if I'm out of line. When you talk about moving with purposefully, but not necessarily intensely, that'll be having a healthy balance of training versus testing.
Oh yeah, definitely. So a mentor of mine, Rich Alm, he always talks about it. We have this functional capacity. It's the amount of work we can do with quality movement is only so much. That is where you should be doing most of your training.
Within our capacity.
Yeah, within that capacity. When you have to test, when you go into a competition, when you do something that, like Thor pulling 1,103 pounds, you're pushing your body past that functional capacity.
Right.
But in order to increase the functional capacity, you've got to train right at the edge of that, the boundary of the capacity. So say your max back squat's 400 pounds, you break down, your form breaks down around 360, 370. Maybe you do a bunch of work around 330, 340, great quality movement, build a ton of volume, build time under tension. And then that will start increasing the capacity, your functional capacity when you get up to around 400 pounds.
And so to translate that into like literal terms of how we do this in training, using his example of back squat, it might be obviously multiple sets of reps at that, 330, 340 mark. And in terms of time under tension, we can make those tempo squats. So 3
Right.
seconds in the eccentric down motion, come back up. I think a lot of people abandon prioritizing technique in heavy lifts. And we can't, it's not realistic to expect athletes to have perfect technique in a maximal lift.
Ideally, that would be nice.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you're going to get a little out of position.
Right.
Your body should be able to handle that little bit of change.
Yeah.
So having movement variability, which is a whole different topic, is really crucial in order to get that sense of where your body is and being able to adapt to those almost micro movements.
Yeah. And then so translating that into movements even, I feel like for whatever reason, coaches across the world, they seem to have grasped, at least a lot of them have grasped this idea behind lifts. They know how to make you better at snatch. They know how to make you better at squat or at deadlift. But for some reason, when you ask someone how to improve capacity in a CrossFit style movement, and we suggest something like, how about instead of this 20-minute AMRAP, you do 4 sets at 80% effort and you maintain the same pace every set. And they're mixed modalities. So maybe you row a 200, you do 20 burpees, you do 20 air squats, and you do 20 wall balls. And then you rest whatever the intervals, 1 to 1, we'll say.
Right.
And for some reason, you don't see coaches programming this, even though it's like, we're just transferring this 80% effort with perfect execution from one movement to a variable of movements and maintaining it.
Yeah, I think there's a disconnect between strength and endurance conditioning, because you see endurance, like good endurance athletes, they're doing this all the time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going to blame CrossFit, but it's we'll call it just like the group fitness. I want to go work hard. I want to feel dead afterwards.
Yeah.
And I posted a blog post about this, but like, what is the best exercise? Like, how do you develop the best exercise program? And it's consistency, your goals, your current fitness status, and your intent. If you can align all 4 of those and you can do 100% effort and it aligns with your goal, you have to do it. CrossFitters, when it comes competition season, you have to go 100% effort. But when you're training, you need to be able to say, this is going to make me better. It's going to get me closer to the goals. I'm going to do it at 80%.
I mean, whether you want to call it consistency or I really like consistency. I like as a platform for training, but in terms of looking at at the days of training, I think that what we're doing needs to be repeatable.
Right.
Unless the coach or program specifies otherwise, which, there are of course exceptions where we will be testing and we're looking for a 100% effort, or maybe you just even test if you're on a peak cycle. So maybe we're ramping up to a competition, and as we get up to there, we're going to decrease volume, increase intensity, and we're going to do some max effort training sessions.
Yeah. I think it all goes back to who you are, what you're trying to get out of it. And I mean, group fitness classes are great if you want to go have a hard workout and you don't really have goals and you just want to feel good.
It's to some degree a social hour.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a much healthier social hour than drinking and hanging out at the bar, but I wish people would understand and just accept that's okay. If you don't like it, that's fine. But accept the fact that the workout can be, somewhat varied or I don't like the word random, but it could be random. And even at an 80% effort, it can be safe too, but fun versus these are linear progressions. They are not fun and they will yield you provable results.
Yeah.
And a great coach, I think, finds ways to marry those two things, because it doesn't have to be like every Monday we deadlift. This week is 5, next week is 4. Like, there are ways to change the movement and stimulate the same muscle groups or energy system.
Right. I fell into that trap big time when I first started doing individual coaching. It was, I know this is going to make you better.
Right.
You're going to add 2.5 to 5 pounds every week for the next 8 weeks.
Decrease reps, increase weight.
Yep. People would fall off.
Yep.
They wouldn't be consistent because it wasn't what they wanted.
It's not entertaining.
Yeah.
I think as a coach, that's honestly the hardest thing is compromising with your client without compromising what you know is effective.
Right.
And that's a very challenging thing, I think, for especially newer coaches to learn to grasp. How do I make the client happy now? But also it's my responsibility to look ahead to make sure they're happy in 3 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The more I talk to really good coaches, it's all about finding what that person enjoys.
Yeah.
Give them what they need to work on, give them a little bit of what they enjoy, and just keep that pattern for as long as you can.
Yeah.
Until their goals change, until your priorities change, whatever it is.
It's no different than eating, right? Like if I let you eat a pint of ice cream every day because I know that's what you want, you're going to be happy today, but in 3 months when we look back, you're going to be really unhappy that you ate a pint of ice cream every day. But if instead, we take some fruit and I let you put a little bit of honey on top, you're still getting a little bit of what you want. Or maybe we're putting dried cherries in our salad. There's a way to marry. You can get a little bit of sweetness, but I also am going to be like taking care of you. So in 3 months, you're happy with what you see.
Right. Yeah. It's just finding balance.
Balance.
Everything in life and nature is about balance.
That's it. And it feels like more than ever, people live at very drastic extremes. We're either completely off the bandwagon or we're like calorie counting, following some crazy, whatever the newest fad diet is. What's the diet where you only eat bananas? I think I could get behind that one.
No, I've never heard of that one.
That's a real thing. People did this. They're like, what if we only eat bananas? It has everything we need in it. I don't know.
If you can do that for years on end,
man,
go for it.
It would probably taste good for like a day, and then I would be over it. But if I could have banana bread, then I would probably be down.
That's a game changer.
That's it, because then I can alter it a little bit. So tell us a little bit more I don't want to get too far off. Tell us a little bit about how you are, because I think you're drastically different from a standard chiropractor. Can you give us some specific examples of what you're doing in your office that's different than when I walk in and my chiro just cracks my back?
Yeah, so I consider myself a non-traditional chiropractor. I want to find the least invasive ways to make you better. So a lot of the times we'll start with just movements that you can do on your own, because I think that's the biggest thing for getting people better is they need to have something to do every day. One exercise, maybe 2 exercises that you do them. If it's the right exercise, you'll get better. So it could take a little time to figure out which exact exercise you need, but being able to progress from, okay, you have an exercise, we tried this, we'll try a little bit more forceful exercise, add a little bit of progression to it, just like in training, and then work our way up to the adjustment if you absolutely need it. Because once you give an adjustment, you can't really take it back.
Right.
If I give you press-ups or push-ups or something like that, we can lower the reps, we can lower the time under tension, we can change that and take it back a little bit.
So basically the difference between a reset and quite literally a corrective exercise.
Exactly. So the adjustment is a super powerful tool, but it's not the only thing I use. If I really need to get someone's spine moving, hip moving better, yeah, I'll adjust it, but we're always going to follow it up with some sort of exercise to really lock that new movement in.
So you're truly a bit of a blend of, to some degree, chiropractor, athletic trainer, personal trainer.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
even physical therapist. I guess physical therapist, athletic trainer, there's already some blurry lines there, but
Yeah, there's a lot of blurry lines between all of those.
yeah.
So most of my treatments is physical therapy based. You're getting exercise. I'm doing some manual tissue work, maybe some joint mobilizations, and then we're going to retest whatever we found was dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing, that the difference that I have compared to other chiropractors is I spend 40 minutes assessing the person. We talk about nutrition. We talk about what makes you better, what makes you worse, what kind of things do you like doing, what are your goals, and then we actually get into some movement assessments. I'll watch you squat. I'll check range of motion. If you're a CrossFitter and you like to snatch but you have pain with it, we'll probably do some sort of snatching, whether it's with the PVC or with the barbell. And then from there, create a program to get you out of pain, which is probably the easier thing to do, but figuring out why that pain came on, what's not moving well, do we need to change nutrition, and then going from there and creating 4, 6, 8 week plan that most of it you can do on your own, because that's what's going to help you keep consistent, is that little bit of self accountability, and then fix the reason the pain came on and keep you going from there.
So in addition to being, I feel like obviously most credible is doctor and chiropractic. You're also CrossFit level 1 certified. You completed your CCP coaching
Yep.
with OPEX as well for individual, which is individual program design. I mean, there's a myriad of things that OPEX offers. What other certs? I feel like you have so many certifications.
I'm DNS certified, which probably between that and the CCP have probably been the two most influential things.
Explain DNS for people.
So DNS is dynamic neuromuscular stabilization. It was founded by PowWow, who is in the Czech Republic, and he came up with a system from people that he's learned from that takes developmental kinesiology, which is how babies develop from 0 days to about 15, 18 months old, taking those positions and those milestones that they hit and using them to treat adults. So the reason behind this is pretty much that when we develop, there's really no one tells you how to roll, crawl, walk. You kind of just figure it out. You go through the environment, you trial and error, gets you
natural
through.
Development.
Exactly. So these patterns are in our brain, in our DNA somewhere. Where they are, we don't really know, but we can say that no matter where you are in the world, you'll develop hitting these milestones if you develop normally. Years of sitting, years of sports, previous injuries kind of hide these normal patterns. So my goal is to bring these patterns back out. So squatting is a developmental pattern, happens 16-ish months. So why would I teach you a way to squat that's not physiological or normal compared to, let's go back to how the baby looked when they squatted?
Which is incredible, by the way. If you're listening and you ever watch a toddler or under squat, it's like, it is wild.
Right. And there's a little extremity proportion difference that we don't have when we're adults, but the principles still apply. The pelvis and rib cage still are in the exact same position. The hips should be able to move a certain amount. The ankles should move a certain amount. So if I can get you close to those ideal movements, your chances of being in pain are way less than if I were to say, okay, extend your back, sit back into your heels, which is exactly the opposite of what a baby would do. So that's kind of I think DNS has the best system for teaching ideal movements. And that's why I went down the rabbit hole, probably way too far, but I like to understand things to a different degree than some people.
Well, I feel like so many people want to learn to sprint and they've not learned to crawl, right? So DNS is focusing on the most primitive base movements, and it's incredible how many people can excel at these movements over here, but cannot master the basics. And I feel like that's setting yourself up for injury.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've kind of figured out in the past couple of weeks is that if you're having a lot of trouble with higher level movements, you're not progressing, you have pain, other stuff like that, you're probably missing some of the basics.
Yeah, and I know that even so, I'm going to use myself. When I started CrossFitting, I was a 400-pound back squatter, which is pretty high for not being a CrossFitter, and my squat was trash. It was not good. I've had knee surgery in the past, and the coach that I worked with, who we mentioned earlier, Jack, was like, if you're going to progress at squat, we need you to take a step backwards so you can take 5 steps forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really easy to be like, oh yeah, I'll do that. But it checks your ego. Like, you're going to have to lower the weight. You're going to have to go time under tension. Things we talked about earlier, learning to train at a challenging but safe weight to help improve mechanics without sacrificing too much strength in the short game. And it's difficult. It's a difficult journey, but it's definitely paid off for me. I squat more than I ever have, and I don't have any knee problems. So that's awesome.
You can't ask for much more than that.
Right. It's willing to be dedicated to the process. It's going to take time, I think, is the hardest thing to people to understand.
I think that's one thing coaches do miss is explaining why they need to do it. The amount of times I've said, yeah, you need to do this, and just left it there. My clients and the athletes were, yeah, he doesn't really know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
If you can sit there and explain, if we fix this and make you move better, then this should be the end result. Now, we can never know the actual end result, but we can make progress towards something further than where you are now.
This is a great lesson for you about to be a dad.
Oh, God.
Dad,
yeah.
why this? Why this? And if you just give them an answer, they're not going to listen. Like, they need to have an explanation or something to tie to it. And I think it's most valuable to, obviously, the explanation to be tied into their goals.
Right.
If someone's like, my goal is to snatch 300. Well, you need to do this. Well, why do I need to do this? Well, this does, this domino knocks down these 3 other dominoes, and this 4th domino is snatch 300. So,
snatching 300. That'd be the day.
Yeah, that's just the mild goal I threw out there for all you basic people, CrossFitters that want to just go try to snatch 140. No big deal. 138, easy money. Yeah. So let's before we go and wrap this up, anything remaining about the new awesome opening of your business? Tell everyone the name of your business. We haven't even gone over that.
Oh yeah, it's Kalamazoo Chiropractic and Rehabilitation. I'm in Portage, just off of 131 and Center, by the tap house there. But yeah, I mean, the reason I got into chiropractic was to help people. I never really had anyone help me the way I wanted. People just told me, stop lifting, you won't be able to do this forever. That's can't be true. Whether it is or not, I have no idea, but I would like to think that we should be able to move and do what we love for as long as possible. So my goal is to give everyone the longest, happiest, pain-free life they can. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
It's awesome. We will definitely be sending people over to visit you. It's a short drive, just over 94 or Center, either way. Anthony, thanks so much for taking the time today to sit down with me, to go over and answer all these questions. And
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to the gyms opening again and throwing around some weight.
Definitely. We'll see you at the new, we'll see you at the facility shortly, I hope.
Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks.
Have a good one.